Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast. For today, we're going over UFC 287 Pereira versus Adesanya. First things first, make sure you give this video a like, hit the subscribe, give a follow over on Twitter, Instagram, over on TikTok, wherever there's social media. There is a Stats and Stacks podcast. We had our locks hit yet again. I will never forget the name Da Un Jung as we are into the month of April. We're a quarter way done with the year, and we've had one lock miss. Damn it, Da Un Jung. But at the end of the day, it's been a very profitable first quarter of the year, having a ball, having a blast. It's a very, very fun time to be an MMA fan. This card coming up, it's a tricky one. I know I say that quite often. This one, again, there's a lot of fighters where you don't feel good about it, you don't feel bad about it. I feel good about a lot of totals opposed to actually picking winners this card, but it is what it is. It's going to be a fun card, and when you have money on it, everything's fun. So nothing holds more true than honestly the first fight of the night here is a sketchy one, and you're going to have money on it to actually like what's going on. So we have our very, very first fight of the night. Let me pull this up in full. I didn't like the way that was laid out there. Let's go to our usual. All right. So very first fight of the night, we have Sam Hughes going up as a plus 205 favorite, going up against Jacqueline Amarim at minus 245. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is minus 150. Under 2.5 at plus 120. That's a pretty interesting line, especially considering this Jacqueline girl who's making her UFC promotional debut. She's 6-0. Her jiu-jitsu is top notch, man. She has a very, very, very good ground game. Her wrestling's okay, it's decent, it's not phenomenal, but it's good enough to accommodate her ground game. Her striking's not the greatest, predominantly because I haven't seen a ton of it. I mean, the one fight where she didn't use her ground game to get a quick sub, it was a 10-second knockout. So she hits extremely hard. Is she very technical? Not so much, but she does train an American top team, so she's around good talent, which is nice to see. At the end of the day, the level of competition is awful. 0-0, 3-4, 0-0, 1-0, 3-1, 4-3. Like the girls she's fighting are not good, and it is her promotional debut. But again, she's gonna have a massive jiu-jitsu advantage. She's a black belt, and she uses it greatly. She's a finisher, which is very weird at this weight class. 115 women's fights are not generally finishers, but this girl literally is. She's gonna have a 3.5 inch reach advantage. What I saw of her on the feet, which isn't often, she's pretty low volume, and we have no idea about her cardio. Again, all of her fights have ended in the first round. We've never seen this girl in the second round. We have no idea how she is. We see in a grappling competition the loss based on points just because that one went a little longer. So does she have a cardio issue? We don't know. Will we find out in this fight? I honestly, I don't know because she's going against Sam Hughes. Sam's not the greatest. Sam's a girl that I continually try to fade. Her striking's not that good, to be quite frank with you. Her wrestling is the biggest concern. She has a 47% takedown defense. Her cardio is on point. She'll fight for days. That's her biggest attribute. But she's 7-5, and all seven of her wins are just battle of nutrition. So, like, she's not good anywhere. But she's durable, and she'll continue to come at you with infinite cardio. Her wrestling, again, not good, but in the third round and you're tired, all of a sudden she starts to get takedowns. Her striking has looked better, but she's still extremely hittable on the feet. She's in Fortis. Fortis is a pretty good fight camp, and she loves to go forward. So both these girls like to go forward, so it'll be interesting to see which one backs up. My guess is Hughes, because Amarim is pretty strong. Amarim, or however you pronounce her name. So, I mean, that's the way I'm going to have to go. I'm going to have to look at Amarim. Do I think the odds are correct? No. Sam Hughes should not be a plus 205 dog to someone that making their UFC debut. They're only 6-0, and they have a combined fight time of 6 minutes or something crazy like that. Like, she has not fought long. A lot of early 1 minute round finishes. So I don't know, man. You have to pick Jacqueline, especially because of her grappling pedigree. But we see women's and heavyweight fights, they always choke. They seem to always have difficulties. Also, when people come in as big favorites and it's a promotional debut, they have a tendency to freeze up. And Jacqueline's both. So I cannot trust this girl. don't necessarily want to trust Sam Hughes. That's the only way I would bet it. The only other bet would be the under 2.5. Again, this Jacqueline girl is going to have a big advantage on the ground, and all of her wins outside of the 1 10-second knockout are by first round submission. So the pick is going to be Jacqueline. The bet's going to be Dogger Pass Sam, or it's going to be that under 2.5 because both are plus money and both have a shot. All right. Next fight of the night, we are looking at more sketchiness, man. We got Steve Garcia at plus 165 going up against Shailan Nurembeki. We're just going to call him Wolverine. That's what he likes to go by at minus 195. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is plus 105. Under 2.5 at minus 135. There's a lot of money coming in on Steve Garcia, which is weird because I know his last fight I talked about how bad he is. I don't think Steve Garcia is good. He's still at Jackson Wink, which is concerning because that camp is just disintegrated and fallen apart, kind of like Rufus Sport. He's a little chinny. If you touch him, he has a tendency to go out. We saw him get knocked out by Machete. We saw him get rocked by Charlie Ontiveros multiple times. We've seen him get beat by Alon Cruz. That's not a good look. Ricky Tercios. That's not the greatest look. He beat Ronnie Lawrence, which is cool. But again, all of these are at 135. This dude right now is fighting at, is this fight at 155 or 145? He was up at 155 for one fight, and I think this one's at 145. Chase is 140. Yeah, so shyly. And so this one's at 145, so he's up a weight class now. His striking's not terrible, and he brawls. Like, he is someone that brings a fight to you. I don't think Steve Garcia is capable of being in a technical fight. He just wants to go to absolute war. It's entertaining as hell to watch, but do you want to put money on the Mean Machine? Not necessarily. He will have a 4-inch reach advantage here, which is super nice. And he does currently have 100% takedown defense, which is nice. But again, he fought Chase Hooper, who can't wrestle. Machete just sparked him in the first minute of the fight. Charlie Ontiveros can't wrestle. Luis Pena can't wrestle. Like, he has not fought a wrestler in the UFC. So I would take that 100% takedown defense with a grain of salt. It's really a matter of he likes to pressure forward. He likes to knock you out, but he's a little chinny himself. On the flip side, you have Wolverine, and Wolverine, he's this little jacked Asian guy, but he's actually a grappler, man, and he's not the world's best grappler, but he'll continue to shoot. He'll shoot until he can't anymore. His wrestling is his strong suit. He's 28 years old. His striking's not good. Very, very low. One of the most low volume people I've ever seen in my life. Like, I think he's even worse than Gunnar Nelson, to be honest with you. He's extremely hittable on the feet, and he gasses. He gets very, very tired. He does slow down quite a bit in his fights. Schedule, he's fought some really sketchy people and really sketchy wins and losses as well. So neither one of them have fought the best competition. But he also packs a punch, man. He's not good on the feet, but it kind of reminds me of the Amorim, the last fight. They're not technical on the feet. They can't strike, but they are jacked and they hit hard. And if they just happen to connect by accident, you can go out. So this just has violence written all over it. Garcia, he likes to push a pace and he likes to get into brawls. Shailan likes to take you down, but he also has 10 career losses, and I'm pretty sure he's finished in most of them. I know Josh Kulabau, he survived, but Zhu Rong wasn't necessarily UFC caliber, and Zhu Rong knocked him out in the first round. He also has about 6 different losses by submission, so that's not a good look. He's been knocked out by body kicks. He's been finished in all of his losses outside of 2 of them. So 2 knockouts, 6 submissions, and 2 decisions. So I mean, I don't know, man. He's not kill or be killed because he doesn't do much when he's on the ground when he gets you down there. But Steve Garcia has a sneaky ground game. It's not terrible. So the only way to play this, there's no way you play the Wolverine. The Wolverine is not good by any means. And his wins in the UFC were against Derek Minner, which was the throne fight at the UFC investigation with Derek Minner. Wolverine's the person that he was fighting. So the fact that he got a knockout win and they had to say, hey, this was sketchy, is showing you how bad he is. His other win was against TJ Brown. I don't know what TJ was doing that fight, to be quite frank with you. Sean Soriano has notoriously the worst takedown defense in the history of the UFC. And then Josh Kulabau whipped his ass. So He doesn't have the greatest track record in the UFC, even though he's sporting a 3-1 record. They all have some controversy, so you cannot bet the guy as a favorite. You have to bet Steve, and I don't hate Steve by submission. It's pretty decent odds, to be quite frank with you. So the pick is gonna be Steve Garcia, and the bet's gonna end up being Steve Garcia, and I'm going to sprinkle him by submission and try to get some extra cash out of it. All right. Hopefully he doesn't just go out there and knock him out. That can be an issue too. All right. So next fight of the night is a very, very interesting one, and one that for whatever reason I just seemed to didn't realize it was still occurring. Trey Ogden is taking on Ignacio Bahamundes. It was added a little later. I actually don't have a ton of research done to it. I don't have the odds with me at the current moment, so we're just gonna fly through it. I know Trey Ogden is a big dog. I know Ignacio, it was minus 340, I want to say. I forgot what Trey Ogden was, like plus 210 or something crazy like that. Trey Ogden is a great grappler. He's very, very good at jiu-jitsu. The problem with Trey Ogden is that he is a god-awful striker. I mean, he lost a striking fight to Jordan Levitt. Enough said. And yes, he did get a nice win in his last UFC outing against Daniel what's his name? Daniel, I can never say his last name. Zahlberger, Zahuber. Either at the end of the day, we talked about those young guys that come in and massive favorites and just freeze. That's exactly what happened to Daniel. Daniel's usually crazy. He's really good. He's a great striker. And he just kind of froze in there, and he took advantage of it. But that doesn't mean that Trey's good by any means. Trey also was a Glory MMA guy, so they disbanded because of the speculation of fixing fights. So I don't even know where Trey Ogden is training currently. All I can tell you is that Trey Ogden's a pretty decent grappler, but his wrestling's not that good, and his striking is fucking non-existent, to be quite frank with you. And his jiu-jitsu is a little questionable defensively for some reason. He seems to put his head into guillotines repeatedly, so please keep an eye out for that. He's a great offensive grappler. Defensively, he sticks his heads and chokes all the time. On the flip side, Ignacio Bahamundes, I have no idea how this man makes lightweight. Probably because he's 25 years old. He's young. He still has that young man metabolism, but he is a freaking giant. He's 6'3" at 155. He's going to have a huge reach advantage. He's going to have a huge striking advantage. He has okay takedown defense. I know John Medeski took him down a few times, but it's not terrible. He has some pretty decent wins with Roosevelt Roberts. And the crazy thing about that Medeski fight is that it was his first fight in the UFC. And what do these young guys that are huge favorites do? They freeze up and they choke repeatedly. And that's exactly what happened to him. He went out there and he choked out Zhu Rong in his last fight. That was a good look, showing that he's been working on his jiu-jitsu. So at the end of the day, he's a pretty durable guy. He's good, man. He's very young, and he's going to continually get better every single time you see him. We haven't seen him in over a year. So he's only going to look better. So I like Bahamundes a lot. Minus 340 is frightening for a young fighter. He's a 25-year-old kid. And he has a few submission losses, and that's how Trey likes to win his fights. However, Trey Ogden's gonna have to get him down to the ground, and my God, is Bahamundes the better striker, and his takedown defense is not that bad. So the pick is gonna be Bahamundes. The bet is gonna be Bahamundes by a mile, and I can have him anchor a lot of the parlays. All right, next fight of the night is another interesting one here. One that I don't feel good about, and I do feel good about at the same time. We have Lupita Godinez minus 275 going up against Cynthia Calvillo at plus 230. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is minus 290. Under 2.5 at plus 230. Let's start with Lupi Godinez. I think she's good. I think she's very good. She's like future champion good just because she's only 29 years old. She's hitting her prime as we speak. Her wrestling's phenomenal in a weight class where there's not a lot of good girl wrestlers. Her striking's good. It's improving. She always hits like a truck. She's just a little lower volume. Another one of these really powerful low volume people. But her striking, you do see improvements. We saw her rock Angela Hill multiple times last fight. And that's tough to do. Angela Hill does not get hurt. She doesn't get put away. She's never been knocked out. Loopy was talking about taking that fight on really short notice, which did happen. They did throw that fight together in Angela Hill's hometown. She said she was not feeling well. I can't remember if she said she was having lady problems or what was going on, but she said she was not 100%. The UFC paid her a ton to take that fight, so she did. They had to make it a catchweight fight. There's a lot of weird stuff that was going on with that fight. So when she says she wasn't 100%, the fact that they were fighting at a catchweight at her opponent's hometown, like it did make it feel like they were trying to get Angela a win and a good win. Her win against Ariana Carnelisi, I mean, Ariana's okay, but she's the world's worst grappler. Like, I think she literally has 25% takedown defense, so that did not age well. But she did what she had to do. She went out there and she out wrestled her, and she made it look super easy. She did the same thing with Luma is a great fighter. I think Luma's very, very good. But she went out there. She knew Luma was smaller, and she just manhandled her. Went out there, grappled her, made it look good. Luana Carolina, again, another asterisk. She took that fight on 6 days' notice up a weight class. She fought 6 days earlier. Like, look at this. She fought the 9th. She fought the 9th of October, and then she fought the 16th of October. Yes, she took a fight up a weight class on a week's notice. Did she lose? Yeah. Was it a close fight? Yeah, she lost 29-28. Is Luana terrible? No. And again, no one's faulting her for taking a fight on 6 days' notice. On the flip side, her very first career loss came when she came in and froze as a young gun who is a big favorite. She froze against Jessica Monet. Do I think she still won the fight? Yeah. Does it show split decision loss? Absolutely. But I thought she did well that fight. I thought she did enough. So we have a sketchy decision, a 6-fight day notice decision, and then we have a had to make a catch weight on 3 weeks notice, wasn't feeling well, decision loss. Those are her 3 losses. Loopy's good, man. She's very good. She's good on the ground. She's good everywhere. I just wish she had a little bit more volume, and she's rocking an 81% takedown defense. Her cardio seems okay. She can slow a touch, but not too much. But the 81% takedown defense is clutch going up against someone in Cynthia Calvillo. I've already spent way too much time on this fight because Cynthia Calvillo is a size bully. She's not good. She was getting absolutely killed at 125. Most of her wins are at 115, but she never makes weight. She never makes weight. She went up to 125 because she couldn't make 115. She got killed by Nina Nunez. She got killed by Andrea Lee and made her quit. Jessica Andrade beat the shit out of her, and Caitlin Chukagian beat the shit out of her. Like, she could not win at 125. So here she is coming back down. Oh, she beat Jessica I once. Jessica I is trash. Everyone beats Jessica I. So she's coming back down to 115 where she can try to bully you. The problem is Loopy's a big girl. I mean, Cynthia's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage, but she's 35 years old. She missed weight every single fight. She never made 115. So she's going to come in. She's going to be drawn out. It's going to be a lot. If she couldn't make the weight 5 years ago, how is she going to make it at age 35? Like, if she does make the weight, she's going to be sucked out. She's a good wrestler. She's a good jiu-jitsu practitioner. Her striking has improved. She's not a terrible fighter, but she just doesn't have a weight class. She can't make 115, and she's too small for 125. She just wants to bully you. And again, Loopy is 81% takedown defense, so if they're forced to strike, I give the edge to Loopy. If they're forced to wrestle, I think it's 50-50. On the ground, I think it's 50-50. Cardio, I'd probably give to Loopy. Giving just overall power, I'd give to Loopy. Like, I give things are either a tie or their advantage Loopy. So I should just want to push all in on Loopy. I think she wins the fight. But again, women's MMA and men's heavyweight scare the living shit out of me. Upset city all the time. So be weary of this. Loopy should win. She's the better fighter. But some weird shit happens in those 2 weight classes. So the pick is Loopy. The bet is going to be Loopy. Next fight of the night, we go straight from women's MMA to heavyweight. Short notice, Carl Williams, minus 460, going up against Chase Sherman at plus 370. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 140. Under 2.5 plus 110. Carl Williams taking this fight on 1 week's notice. Why can he do so? Because he's a light heavyweight. He's not truly a heavyweight. He just doesn't want to cut weight anymore. He's a good striker. He did not show it in his UFC debut, nor did he show it in his Dana White Contender Series fight. But the kid can strike, and he's pretty technical on the feet. He has a decent amount of power, and he's fast as shit. This guy is just extremely explosive. He's training at ATT Atlanta. His wrestling's really good. It came out of absolutely nowhere. He's out wrestling Jimmy Lawson. He wrestled crap. He wrestle fucked the shit out of Lucas Bresky. All in all, he's very, very good. He has all the tools. He's just really inexperienced. I mean, he only has 9 career fights and he's 33 years old. I know 33 is young for a heavyweight, but again, he's not truly a heavyweight. This man is a light heavyweight who's moonlighting up at heavyweight. And because he has a speed and explosive advantage, and that's working. We see a lot of these guys doing it. Jacob Collier, it's not a true heavyweight, but he's winning at heavyweight. We see Jailton Almeida, not a true heavyweight, winning at heavyweight. And now Carl Williams saw that formula, is doing the same thing, hasn't lost a heavyweight. I think he's a very, very good fighter. At the end of the day, he's just inexperienced, but he's a great wrestler. And there's not a lot of good wrestlers at heavyweight. And that's one of the reasons he's able to exploit it. You just have to watch his cardio a little. The more he wrestles, the more he gets a little bit tired towards the end of the fight. Luckily, he's fighting Chase Sherman, who also has a tendency to get pretty tired, especially when he's forced to wrestle. Chase is pretty decent striking. He hits decently hard. He has a phenomenal leg kick. He beats the shit out of your front lead leg. It's just he's a little hittable. He throws a ton of volume, but he gets hit with a shit ton back. Carl's going to be the much, much faster guy on the feet when it comes to wrestling. Chase doesn't have the greatest takedown defense, but he has a pretty good get-up game. He can get back up. Carl Williams, again, very inexperienced, doesn't throw in hooks, doesn't try to go for any chokes. He literally just tries to get like a Dagestani handcuff and just kind of hold you down there with no hooks. And Bresky kept getting up, and it was getting sketchy. And Chase Sherman is probably not going to just sit down, at least for the first 2 rounds. The third round, I think we're going to see some sloppy heavyweight action. But that's if it makes it to a third round. Minus 140 for the over 2.5. That's interesting. And Chase is kind of a real heavyweight. He could probably make light heavyweight if he really wanted to. But he's a little thicker than Carl Williams. He's going to be much larger. So I don't know, man. He's fought the better guys. He has more UFC experience, more fight experience in general. This does scream upset. Again, heavyweight and women's MMA are the scariest things to bet. I'm going to pick Carl Williams. The bet, I don't know, man. I don't fucking know for this fight. I want to stay far away from this fight. If anything, I'm betting the over 2.5 at minus 140, or honestly, I might even just sprinkle like an alternative spread and do the over 1.5. That might make me feel a little safer. The odds probably still aren't that bad. So the pick is going to be Carl. The bet's going to be the over. All right. Next fight of the night. It's very, very reminiscent to the Lupi Godinez fight. We have Gerald Meerschaert plus 150 going up against B. Joe Pyfer at minus 175. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 plus 110. Under 1.5 minus 140. The reason I say it's reminiscent to the Lupi fight is that Joe Pyfer is the better fighter and he should get an easy win. But there are just some circumstances that scare me. Joe Pyfer is at a good camp. He's training over with the Gracie boys. We have like the Pat Sabatini and Sean Brady and all of those guys from Philly. He's at a great camp. He has some pretty good. He was at the CFFC scene, which I absolutely love. He hasn't fought the greatest guys, to be quite frank with you, but he has some decent amateur experience. He's a good striker, everything down the middle. He's 26 years old, so every time we see him, he's going to get better and better. His jiu-jitsu is okay. It's not the greatest, but it's good. And his wrestling's pretty good. His wrestling, he's a very good offensive wrestler. So at the end of the day, he has it all. He has a ton of power. He has good striking. He has good jiu-jitsu. He's 26, so he's ever improving. He has good wrestling. He's a finisher. All of his wins are basically by finish. His gas tank, I've only seen him go to decision once, and it looked okay. He didn't gas out by any means. He slowed a touch, but again, it was very, very early on in his career. So, how do you really manage a gas tank like that? But yeah, he's literally good everywhere and getting better. On the flip side, we have Gerald Meerschaert, and this is the thing that scares the shit out of me. Gerald Meerschaert is the hype train killer. Like every hype train you get in the middleweight division, they give you Gerald Meerschaert. Jared Meerschaert has fought Bruno Silva hype train. He's fought the Magomed Muradov hype train. He's fought the Khamzat Chimaev hype train, the Ian Heinisch hype train, the Eric Anders hype train, Kevin Holland hype train, Jack Hermanson. Like every time someone gets on a roll, for some strange reason, there's a Gerald Meerschaert test that they have to pass. Gerald Meerschaert cannot strike. He is not a good striker by any means. He is phenomenal jujitsu. He actually has like the third most submissions in the UFC history. Number one in the middleweight division for certain. He's 35 years old, so he's not getting any younger. He's gonna have a 2.5 inch reach advantage here, which is super nice. But he's super hittable and he's super chinny. Like if you touch this guy's chin, he goes out. He was from Duke Rufus's gym. I don't know where he's at now, to be quite frank with you. His cardio's okay. He's rocking a 29% takedown defense. Part of that is because he can't stuff a takedown. The other half is because he doesn't want to, because he wants to play jujitsu. This guy is literally middleweight Paul Craig. He wants to go to the ground. He can't strike. He doesn't have the best gas tank, but if you take him down to the ground, he can tap out anybody. Paul Craig has tapped out the current champion Jamal Hill. Gerald Meerschaert has tapped out so many people. Bruno Silva, he tapped out Magomed Muradov, like we said. He's tapped out a ton of great guys. Trevin Giles, Deron Wynn. Deron Wynn's not whatever. But he's tapped out a lot of really, really good guys. At the end of the day, you don't want to go down there with him. His offensive wrestling, it's getting better, to be quite frank with you, but it's still not that good. And his chin, you can never bet on Meerschaert, but you hate betting against him. You can do a club and sub, you can do anything. As long as he gets down to the ground, he can catch you. So as long as Joe minds his P's and Q's, he's again head and shoulders better fighter. But you're playing with fire with Meerschaert, but I'm willing to play that fire right now. I got to beat Joe Pfeiffer. So the pick is going to be Joe. The bet is going to be Joe. You're getting a good line at minus 175. And he also had his UFC debut out the way. So now he gets to just go into a second fight and hopefully has those jitters out of the way. Next fight of the night, it's another one that scares the shit out of me. We have Michelle Waterson, the karate hottie, at plus 150, going up against Luana Pinheiro at minus 175. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is minus 320. Under 2.5 at plus 250. Michelle Waterson Gomez, she's not young. She's 37 years old. She's getting up there, man. She's getting a little hittable, to be quite frank with you. Her striking's still good. Don't get me wrong. She has that karate background. She knows how to use it. Her jiu-jitsu's gotten a lot better, and no one's talking about it. She's pretty good on the ground. I know that her last fight, she got choked out, so that doesn't sound right. But she got choked out by a jiu-jitsu black belt in a fight that she was honestly winning. She has 67% takedown defense, but that's been improving as well. Although she's 37, she's been getting better in the areas she used to struggle in. She has good cardio. She just doesn't hit that hard, and mainly because she's not really a strawweight. She's an atomweight, and the UFC doesn't have a 105-pound division, so she has no choice but to fight up a weight class, unfortunately. So that's, I mean, don't get me wrong, she has a good schedule. She fought Amanda Lemos. She fought Marina Rodriguez, Angela Hill, Carla Esparza, Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Like, all of these girls are real. They're very, very good. Former champs. She fought Rose. She fought Tisha Torres. Like, she's fought basically all of the UFC champions that she could in this weight class outside of Wei Li. She's fought all of the contenders. She's fought the who's of this division. She's a great fighter. She's just 37 years old, so does she have a vet lesson left in her? I don't know. Luana's not bad. Luana's actually very good. Luana's a good striker. She's very good on the ground. Her wrestling, it's not good. Okay. She has a head and arm. That's the last thing you want as an MMA fighter, is to have a head and arm, because you're giving up your back, but she seems to make these throws work. She's a judo black belt. And even though she's giving up her back doing these throws, she seems to be just fine when she does it. Again, she is good everywhere and she hits like an absolute truck. The issue is she doesn't like getting hit back, and she has a little bit of a cardio issue. She won against Sam Hughes in her last fight, But Sam Hughes won the third round and honestly most of the second until she dropped her. So you have to watch this girl's gas tank. She's 29 years old. She's only going to get better. But is her cardio getting better? I know that she's dating Matthias Nicolau, who's like a top 5 guy in his weight class now. So she's all about MMA. She fights all the time. She's dating a fighter. She's only 29. She's in her prime. Everything is perfect. Everything is screaming Luana. But Luana is very similar to Amanda Lemos, and that's where I'm concerned. Because Michelle Waterson was beating Amanda Lemos before she got caught in the guillotine. What if Michelle Waterson does the same thing and just gives a little bit of a vet lesson to this 29-year-old? I don't know. She can do it. I think the odds are way off. I was staring at Michelle Waterson by sub. You get pretty decent numbers on there. I think it's like plus 1100 or something crazy. I think that's the way I'm playing it. Or if you want to just play Michelle Waterson, you can. I think Luana's the better fighter at this day and age right now. But she just has some cardio issues, and Michelle Waterson's a wily vet, and I think she can get the job done. So the pick is going to be Luana, the better fighter. But the bet's going to be the savvy vet in Michelle Waterson, and I might sprinkle Waterson by sub. If she keeps throwing that goddamn head and arm, Michelle may just take her back and choke her out, especially if she throws it while she's tired. That's what I keep seeing in my head. Round 2 or round 3, she's tired, she throws that head and arm, Michelle grabs her back and gets a rear naked choke. Like, I keep seeing it play in my mind. So pick is Luana, bet's going to be Michelle, and probably Michelle by sub. All right, next fight of the night is people's main event, baby. We got Kelvin Gastelum at minus 120 now, going up against Chris Curtis at plus 100. Over under set at 2.5, over 2.5 minus 205, under 2.5 at plus 165. Let's start with my boy, the action man. I love Chris Curtis. Good dude. 35 years old, not a young dude. Very good striking, good camp at Extreme Couture. He's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage here, which is super nice. 100% takedown defense. Everyone's talking about it. He's very, very tough to take down. His jiu-jitsu, we don't really know about because he doesn't utilize it because he's knocking everyone out. He has a ton of power, and he's trying to beef up a little. He's a welterweight. He's not a true middleweight. He's fighting at middleweight so that he can take a whole bunch of fights on short notice, make a whole bunch of money before he retires because he's 35 years old. And I'm saying that because he literally admitted that and said that himself. So the good news for him is that he's fighting another welterweight because Kevin Gastelum should be at welterweight as well. So these are just 2 welterweights fighting at middleweight. Difference is Curtis is trying to put on muscle. He has pretty decent volume, but he loves to counter. And that's how he lost to Jack Hermanson. He just waited too long. He has a tendency to do that. He was losing that fight against Buckley. I know he was doing it on purpose. He was giving up the first round, and he tells you he will give you the first round so he can figure out your timing and lull you to sleep and then put you to sleep. Like, he will tell you that. That's what he does. It's a risky strategy. He will literally become a punching bag. He has great defense. He's hard to hit. But I mean, it gives up rounds, and that scares me in a 3-round fight. On the flip side, we have Gastelum. He is fight ready now. That's a difference maker. I love fight ready. I think that's one of the best camps you can be at. He has good striking, good wrestling, great schedule. He's fought for a world title. He's been in the 5th round against Izzy in that classic. He has really fast hands, man. His hands it's really fast boxing. His cardio is good. Everything about him is good. He loves to move forward. He has a great chin. He's never been knocked out. I know Jared Cannonier dropped him twice, but that's Jared fucking Cannonier. And no one punches harder than Jared Cannonier in the middleweight division outside of the current champ, Alex Pereira. No one else is harder than Cannonier. So the fact that he ate all those shots is amazing. Again, he's fought Cannonier. He's fought Whitaker. He's fought Hermanson, Ian Heinisch, Darren Till, Izzy, Souza, Bisbing, Weidman. He's fought literally everybody. Magny, he's a great fighter. It's just he's in the wrong weight class. So it's great that he's fighting another welterweight. This is good for him. He's at a good camp. Like Calvillo, Gastelum has a tendency not to make it to the fight either. So I don't want to spend too much time on this. He has that rep of just getting hurt. He's injury prone. His body gives up on him. He doesn't make weight. Like, there's a lot of stuff that always goes on with Calvin where his fights just don't come into fruition sometimes. If this one does, I don't know who I have. I literally can't pick a side. I think these are both phenomenal fighters. I rock with both of them. They're very similar. Calvin will wrestle a lot more, but will he wrestle against Chris Curtis when it's like impossible to take him down? I don't know if he'll waste his time. I don't know what's going to happen here. So, what I do know is that they're both durable as all hell and they're very, very hard to knock out. So, I'm all over the over here. The pick, I'll take Gastelum just for volume. I'm rocking with Chris Curtis. I probably want Chris Curtis to win, but I like the over 2.5 because Calvin is a blockhead. Chris Curtis might be, it might be impossible to knock him out. I know Ray Cooper did, but the man fought twice in one night. Cut the man a break. So the pick is going to be Gastelum. My heart wants Chris Curtis, but my money is going to have the over 2.5. All right, next fight of the night. We have the 18-year-old now, not 17, 18 now. Raul Rosas Jr. at minus 230 going up against C-Rod. Christian Rodriguez at plus 195. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is plus 115. Under 2.5 at minus 145. This line's disrespectful, man. Let's start with Christian Rodriguez. He's good. He's very good. He is very good striking. He has a good front choke series. His wrestling, that's the issue. 55% takedown defense. That's not a good look. But his jiu-jitsu is good, man. He's good on the ground when he gets down there. He has a lot of reversals. He's 25 years old, so he's only gonna get better. He was at Fight Ready. I loved everything about Christian Rodriguez, future champ. And then he left Fight Ready and went to Rufus Sport. That's a little concerning. I don't know what's going on there. But at the end of the day, I have nothing. He's gonna have a 4-inch reach advantage. I like Christian Rodriguez a lot, and this is a winnable fight. Plus 200 is disrespectful. I think C Rod's very, very good. Only problem is with Rosas. Rosas can't really strike. From what I saw, it's just all explosion, but not a lot of substance to it. But the kid can grapple and the kid can wrestle. He's a phenomenal wrestler grappler. And again, C Rod is rocking a 55% takedown defense, and he's going against someone that only grapples. So that's a little concerning. Rosas cardio, he does slow down a little bit. It was just surprising for an 18-year-old kid, but he does slow down a little bit. But he's good enough to where he can just keep going and keep pushing. Very low volume. Doesn't he's more position over submission, which is making me lean towards the over here. And I love that it's plus money. C Rod, I think his jiu-jitsu is good enough to survive, but Rosas, I think he's just going to be hanging on to him the entire time. I don't think C-Rod's a so much better striker. I think the jiu-jitsu game's a wash, but I think the wrestling is not even close with Rojas. So if you're telling me wrestler, grappler, you always take the grappler. So the pick is going to be Rojas. The bet, I want to really take the dog shot on C-Rod, but instead I'm going to take the over 2.5. I think he can survive on the ground. And it's plus money. So the pick is Rojas. The bet is going to be the over 2.5. Next fight of the night. It's a fun one, man. We have Kevin Holland going at minus 245 going up against Santiago Ponzinibbio at plus 205. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 125. Under 2.5 minus 105. Let's start with the Trailblazer. He's good, man. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and no one ever talks about that. Like, he's very, very good on the ground. Just tapped out to Means like 3 fights ago. His striking's good. He hits extremely hard, especially for someone that's so skinny. You don't see the power coming. But he hits extremely hard. Good striking. He'll have a 9-inch reach advantage in this matchup, which is insane. The problem is always going to be his wrestling. He's aware of it. The world's aware of it. He'll tell you that he's a terrible wrestler and then he's working on it. He's training with Johnny Hendricks. He's training with Terrence McKinney. He's doing everything he can to get better in that department. It has looked better. I'll give him that. But I mean, he just got overwhelmed by Chimaev. It's one thing to train on it, and then fight Chimaev is insane. Like, he got absolutely ran through. Stephen Thompson, it was mostly a striking affair, but I mean, Kevin did try to shoot a few times and was unsuccessful. So his offensive wrestling still terrible. And he can get stuck on the ground playing jiu-jitsu. He doesn't have a good get-up game at all. If you get him down, that's the issue. He can't get back up. On the flip side, Santiago Ponzinibbio, he's a good striker. He's a pressure fighter. He does start a little slow. I've seen him give up a lot of first rounds since coming back from those serious injuries. He had like serious staph infections, back injuries, which took a lot of time off his career. So yes, he's 36, but in fight years, he's a little younger, just because he took like 2 or 3 years off at one point. American Top Team's a great camp. And he throws a pretty decent volume. He will mix in wrestling, and that's why I might be leaning his direction. I think Holland's the better striker. I think Holland's better on the ground, but Santiago is the better overall fighter. It's just he's getting a little chinny with age, though. Although he's, in fight years, it's not as bad. Alex Morono dropped him. Michelle Pereira dropped him. Jeff Neal, he rocked him. I don't think he dropped him. The Leech put him out. Miguel Beza hurt him. Like, he gets hurt quite a bit. And again, Leech knocked him out in round one. Um, Jeff Neal, Sun's coming back. Jeff Neal won round one. Michelle Pereira won round one. Alex Morono won round one. He doesn't seem to ever win round one. Sun's coming back. So he's a very, very slow starter. I mean, Holland could very easily go out there and knock him out in the first round. Or we could see Santiago go out there, pressure him, and kind of break Holland and mix in wrestling. This is the most complete fighter that Holland's fought in a while. So I don't know. I think I like Kevin Holland. I think he should win by knockout, but I can't put my money on it. I think the safer bet is just dog or pass. So the pick is going to be Kevin Holland, but the bet's going to be Santiago Ponzinibbio at plus 200, plus 205. Too big of a gap for this. Next fight of the night, another weird one, man. These are all fun fights. They're just weird to bet. Rob Font plus 160 going up against Adrian Yanez at minus 190. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 150. Under 2.5 plus 120. I fuck with Adrian Yanez. I think he's a great fighter. I think he's fun to watch. They talk about him having the best boxing in the UFC. I think that's a stretch, but I think he's very good, and I think he's a very, very good striker. Crazy thing is he's a black belt. No one talks about his ground game. The kid's nasty on the ground. You just never see it because he's knocking everyone out. Wrestling's all right. He's fought like Tony Gravely and lost because he got out grappled, but that was a long time, or it was Miles John. Sorry, that was a long time ago. Domingo Pilarte was able to out grapple him. That's kind of how his losses happen. He just got taken down and controlled. But he has a decent get up game. I mean, these are split decision losses. So at some point he's getting up and he's continually putting it on you. He's on a big winning streak right now. The only problem is the wins on this winning streak are a little sketchy, to be honest with you. A lot of these guys in the kid in the Contender Series, I don't know about that guy. Victor Rodriguez is not good. Gustavo Lopez isn't that good. Randy Costa's been cut. Davey Grant's 37 years old, and he went to a split. I had money on Yanez, and I thought Grant won. So that one concerned me. And Tony Kelly has also been cut. So let's see. Victor cut, Gustavo cut, Randy Costa cut, Davey Grant split that is questionable, and then Tony Kelly cut. So he hasn't had the best. Yeah, it's good to say you're the best boxer in the UFC when you're fighting these guys. And that's no disrespect to Yanez. I love Yanez. I'm a big Adrian Yanez fan. I just need to see him get tested. I don't know if this was the right jump because Rob Font's a top 8 guy in the division. So going from Tony Kelly to Rob Font's a big jump when you're 29, in my opinion. I think they could have given him one or two more before giving him Rob Font, but I think it's a test he can pass. I think they're trying to do it for a reason. Rob Font's a great striker. He's very, very good on the ground. On the feet. On the ground, it's all right. 35 years old though. He's one of these Boston Cartel guys. He's great in New England Cartel guys. He's really good on the feet. Good schedule, high volume. He'll even try to mix in a takedown here and there. He's gonna have a 2-inch reach advantage. He has great cardio. He has everything except for one thing, a chin. He used to have a chin, but again, he's 35 years old. And in his last fight against Marlon Vera, he outstruck Marlon Vera in all 5 rounds, but lost the fight 50-45 in all 5 rounds. Why? Because he got dropped in all 5 rounds. And right now, the criteria is damage over everything. Jose Aldo, he outstruck Jose Aldo. but he got dropped in every single round, and he lost every single round. He kept getting dropped. So criteria is damage. I think Rob Font may be a better striker than Adrian Yanez. If not, it's 50-50. Rob Font is probably the better wrestler, to be quite frank with you. On the ground, it could be a wash, or you can give a slight edge to Yanez. Volume, definitely Font. Power, definitely Yanez. And all it takes is one drop, and Yanez is going to win the round. And I think he's going to do it. Um, I want to bet Rob Font. I think he's a great dog that everyone is sleeping on. I think Font by decision is a phenomenal bet, and I will have a bet on Font by decision, but I'm going to have to pick Yanez. I think he knocks him out too, but it's only plus 165 on that. So at this point of the night, how are you looking? Are you up a lot? Do you want to take that shot on Font by decision? Because it's great odds. Do you want to just take the shot on Yanez? If you do, it could be decision or knockout. It's really on how you want to play this. This is the most torn I'm on right now. Font by decision or Yanez by knockout or decision. I'm so torn. The pick is going to be Yanez, but the bet is going to be Font. It's got to be dog or pass. If I'm 50-50 and split, give me the plus 150. All right. Next fight of the night is our co-main, and one I feel really weird about. Gilbert Burns minus. I'm so sick of saying that, but again, this is a fun fight card. It's just betting wise is so concerning. Gilbert Burns minus 475. Jorge Gamebred Masvidal plus 380. Over 2.5 minus 105. Under 2.5 minus 125. Let's just get this out the way. I don't like Gamebred. I don't think Jorge Masvidal is that good. I think Jorge Masvidal is like 37 years old at this point. How old is he? 38 now. Oh my god. I let me take this back. I loved Gamebred. Gamebred was my boy. I was a huge Gamebred fan. But when he became Street Jesus, once he got that flying knee knockout, then he got the tattoo on his like shoulder, and then he walked around with all of his pajamas, and it got a little out of control. His title fights, his talking. When Gamebred was like, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, Gamebred, one of the favorite fighters. I thought he was awesome. I loved Gamebred. He's a good striker. He's okay on the ground. It's sneaky good on the ground. His cardio is pretty decent. His wrestling is not terrible. He's rocking a 74% takedown defense, but he's fought some pretty good wrestlers, so that's not terrible for the level of competition he's had. He's gonna have a 3-inch reach advantage here. I don't like him as a person. I think as a fighter, he's still talented. He's just getting up there in age. He's not as good as he once was. But this is just tricky because he's fighting Gilbert Burns, who is just as up there in age. Gamebred's 38, but Gilbert Burns is 36. It's only a 2-year gap here. Gilbert has good striking, but I think it's a little overrated. I know it looked good against Usman in round 1, but Usman isn't even exactly the greatest striker. That's a little overrated. I know it looked good against whatchamacallit, Kamzat, but Kamzat's also a wrestler. So his striking looks great when he's fighting wrestlers. When he fights a striker, Neil Magny, he didn't throw a punch. He took him down and tapped him out. Stephen Thompson, he didn't throw a punch. He took him down and controlled him for 3 rounds. Like when he is fighting a wrestler or a Damian Maya, yeah, he knocked out Damian Maya, who's not a striker. He's a jiu-jitsu guy. So I think his striking's a little overrated. I think his jiu-jitsu is underrated. Gilbert Burns is the real deal on the ground. He's very, very good on the ground. And his wrestling has improved, man. It's weird to say. He used to not do it as much, but as of late, I know he had an interview where he's talking about his wife yelled at him, just take these guys down and tap them out because it's easy. And then he started doing it. And I like this new Afro Gilbert Burns is real, man. He's a great wrestler. Afro Gilbert Burns is a great wrestler. He is a little chinny, though. Yeah, and he's been knocked out by Dan Hooker. He's been knocked down in all of his fights. He got knocked out with a jab against Kamaru Usman. Everyone talks about him and his jab. I know Kamzat knocked him down with the jab. A lot of people do with the jab. It's very concerning. I think Gilbert's really good. He's just a little chinny, and all of his takedowns seem to be double legs. And this is my biggest thing. Gilbert struggles with people that are better strikers, and he struggles with jabs. when you look at Jorge Masvidal, he throws everything down the middle. He doesn't throw a lot of crazy hooks. He has decent power, but everything still comes straight down the middle, which is where you hurt Gilbert Burns. Also, as I watched Jorge Masvidal, he's rocking a 74% takedown defense, but when you shoot doubles, he seems to stop all of them. He can't stop body locks for whatever reason. He has terrible, I guess he has terrible hips or something. I don't know what's wrong with him. That like if he fights someone like Greco, like okay, Colby Covington shot a million takedowns on him. None of them were doubles. He would shoot a double, get him to the cage, and then body lock take him down repeatedly. Like Kamaru Usman didn't take him down with doubles. He body locked him. Every takedown I watched in fight tape were body locks. Gil doesn't do a ton of those. I've seen him hit one or two. He loves shooting blast doubles, and that's what Jorge's good at stuffing. So I think stylistically, these are way off. I want Gilbert to win badly, but I have to bet Jorge at like plus 400. He should not be plus 400. This is a terrible, terrible line by Vegas. So the pick is going to be Gilbert. I think Gilbert's good. But Masvidal, you cannot not bet Masvidal plus 400 with this matchup. This is not correct. All right, and then that takes us to the main event. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe, give a follow over on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, wherever there's social media. There's a Stats podcast. This will be a quick one to break down because we've seen this fight 1,000,001 times. Israel Adesanya minus 130, Alex Pereira plus 110, over under set at 4.5, over 4.5 minus 120, under 4.5 minus 110. Hands down, Izzy's the better fighter. Izzy's the better striker. Izzy's the better wrestler. Izzy's the better jiu-jitsu practitioner. Izzy has fought the better schedule. Everything is advantage Izzy. Problem is, Alex Pereira, if you don't want to say Izzy's the better striker, it's a tie. Problem is, Alex Pereira hits like an absolute truck. I've never seen a man hit harder. He's absolutely massive. Please watch this weight cut. He is someone that worries me about weight. Like he may not make weight sometimes. I think he's better suited for 205 because there's no wrestlers at 205. I think he would run through that division, but he likes beating up Izzy, and he does it all the time. Izzy, that first fight, I thought Pereira won, but it was kind of close. Their second kickboxing fight, Izzy was actually dominating, and then Pereira caught him. And then we saw in the MMA, Izzy was dominating him, and then Pereira caught him. The dude hits like a truck, but Pereira doesn't have the best jiu-jitsu. His cardio, he slows down and then he catches a second win and then he slows down again. It's very odd. It's like he takes 3 minutes off in little periods so that he can go another 5, then he has to take another 3 off. It's very peculiar to watch. My only concern is underdog champs. We continually see it with Charles Oliveira like 4 times. We see it with Leon Edwards. We see it with Islam. Like we see all of these people, or not Islam. We see it with all these people. Volkanovski was an underdog champ at one point. Like these guys come in as champions, as the underdog, and they keep winning. Jan Blachowicz kept doing it. Who was at heavyweight? Stipe did it a few times. Yeah, man. Francis Ngannou. Like when these men come in as champ, as underdogs, they seem to win. And I don't understand it. It's frightening, and especially because Pereira has already beaten Izzy 3 times. Is it going to happen again? History says yes. My mind says no. Izzy is the better fighter. He's better everywhere, hands down. He can't beat Alex Pereira just because of fate. And honestly, the odds are everything, every sort of like hypothetical, every sort of just it's a word I'm looking for. Whatever. Everything is pointing towards Alex Pereira winning, even though Izzy's the better fighter. Do I want to do it? No. I think Izzy's going to win. I will pick Izzy again, and I will die on that hill until he gets it done. So the pick is Izzy. The bet is Izzy. But for the love of God, if you still have a parlay open, bet Pereira. I would only put Izzy in parlays, to be quite frank with you. And then I'll hedge with Pereira so that you can guarantee you win money. And that's UFC 287. Again, it's a fun fight card. Not a lot of big names. Pretty hard to bet, but it just a sheer entertainment value. It will be good. Should be a lot of finishes. It should be a fun one. Hopefully we get some winnings, keep it rolling, and just keep winning money, baby. Let's get it.